Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Home Finders, a podcast by Property Finder. I have an amazing guest today that I'm excited to introduce you to. But before we do that, I want to get a chance to remind you that Home Finders is the ultimate podcast where you get a chance to learn all the ins and outs of the complex field of real estate. You have questions, we have answers. As I mentioned, my guest today is going to help share some wonderful tips on how to navigate first-time home buying and just where to start in the industry. Today, I'm joined by Arian Ajadri, CEO of Eminence Real Estate. Arian, thank you for joining me today. We're happy to have you.
Thanks for having me here, Scott. Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into the real deep questions and answer all the home buyers' questions, tell us a little bit about your experience in the real estate business.
Yeah, well, I actually grew up here in Dubai. I studied here. I went to university here. For financial reasons, at some point, I had to kind of drop out of university. Real estate wasn't my first path. I went into the tourism sector. So that's where I kind of started. I was in the tourism industry for around 1 year, kind of maximized whatever I could have done in that segment. And I was looking for a newer space to join in. I always had passion for real estate. A friend of mine suggested real estate to me, and I decided to take a chance. And somehow I found out that this is a space that I can thrive in, and the rest is history. I'm here today, and I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's you're in it for the long term now.
Yeah,
so why
definitely.
real estate? What is it that really captivated your attention?
I think for everyone, at some point of time, you need some sort of an investment, and real estate is probably the safest investment you can have. I personally am an investor. I've been into so many different spaces, from stock market, crypto, even bank investments like bonds or other investments that banks offer, like safe deposits. And real estate is probably the best one that is out there, and that's what I would suggest. That's what I do for myself, and that's what I suggest to everyone.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of people join the real estate business right now. We've seen a lot of new brokerages and agencies and new people who are coming here to start out as an agent. What's your advice to somebody who would be getting started in the business today, maybe as a first-time agent?
Well, I get this question a lot. In fact, first of all, I would say for anybody who wants to join the real estate industry, you really need to have certain qualities. You need to have the passion for real estate. You need to have that drive to succeed, to compete with everybody else and yourself to always get better. And you need to have a strong mindset. It's not always going to be good. It's not always going to be, the best. You're going to have to be in it with a strong and positive mindset. And that's technically a quality that all successful agents have from my experience. But to get started, if you have a strong savings, then you could probably end up going to a real estate company, a company that has the power to give you that research, development, training. If not, my personal suggestion to a lot of people who approach me is to join a developer. Developers give you a basic salary, they give you a good training. For the first couple of years, it's good to start with them. And once you have the knowledge and the capabilities to come into the brokerage market, that's when you kind of evolve. And in fact, a lot of successful agents that are there in the market today, they started with developers.
Yeah, it's a great advice for somebody to get started. But what about from a consumer standpoint? If I'm a first-time home buyer and, I'm on Property Finder looking at all these amazing listings, it can be quite daunting when I think about, reaching out to an agent. What should I be thinking about in that agent relationship, or maybe what I'm looking for in that agent relationship?
I mean, for everyone, it's different. If you're an end user, the high chances are that you're looking in certain different locations that really work out to your lifestyle, to your proximity, maybe to work, for kids to school. And you kind of narrow it down to places that you're looking at. Once you narrow it down to areas, if you're looking into a ready market, the bigger chances that there are real estates that specialize in those areas, and you're most probably going to reach out to them. It is always advised to reach out to a couple of different brokers, sit down with them, discuss, understand if they understand your requirement from your side, and if they can match it to the right property. And of course, look around, try to compare options, keep in different time. There isn't really a lot of rush to kind of go in and buy everything, but once you find that right property, then you need to shoot your shot.
Yeah,
Go for it.
It's great advice to especially find somebody who's an expert in that community, because especially these communities are so hyper localized now with all the different amenities that we're seeing. So finding somebody who knows the ins and outs has got to be a really important piece.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
With that being said, too, we've seen Dubai just explode as a real estate, investment destination, if you will, and really the UAE as a whole. What are the things you're seeing that's really driving that? Why is Dubai such an amazing place right now to invest in real estate?
I've seen Dubai in every different stage, and the sentiment that is there in the market right now. I mean, we've always had Dubai, open to all nationalities. The sentiment that is there now is just completely international. We have markets that were not here in the real estate sector today, like Europe. European countries right now are the top investors in Dubai, aside from Russia, UK, obviously India. We've got Germany, France, Italy, Romania. These are some of the nationalities that are there at the top of the investors list. And Dubai being central, being very easy place to travel, being an easy place to set up a business, obviously being tax-free, safety aspect. There's just so many factors that have been brought in together that makes Dubai stand out in terms of all the other areas that are around. Obviously, there are economic crises happening in different parts of the world. We haven't felt it really because for a lot of people, they are pulling out of their investments and they're investing into Dubai. It is one of the only places currently that makes a lot of sense. And I don't think it's going anywhere. And that makes Dubai really special in comparison to everywhere else. On the other hand, there is a very strong vision and a plan. The leaders know what they are doing. They always have. And I think that's where Dubai is going to win in the long term as well.
Yeah. And how much has the golden visa really played into that? Because we saw that announced, about a year ago at this point, and it seems like it's been just one additional factor that has continued to drive investment. Is that another factor?
Again, there are so many factors that just play into it. You can't really tell what is the best factor that makes it so special. Obviously the way they managed COVID situation here in Dubai, the limitation of supply that was brought in with the 2019 committee, the real estate sector, and again, so many other factors that have been adding value to the real estate sector. But Golden Visa definitely played a big part. A lot of our clientele who reach out to us, they are interested in having a Golden Visa. At the end of the day, the value to get that Golden Visa is 2 million dirhams and above, and there are a lot of investors that are investing much more than that. So yes, it's added in value, but again, just alongside all the other factors that are out there.
The long list of factors at this point.
Yeah.
So you mentioned investments, and when we think about making investments in real estate, there are a lot of options. We hear a lot about short-term rental right now as being a big option. More and more people wanting to invest in those short-term properties. Where are you seeing the short-term market versus maybe more of the long-term rental market if I was going to invest in the market here?
Short-term rental is very hot right now. In most areas, you could earn 30 to 40% higher than a long-term rental. As long as you're in a prime location, you're in a property that is relatively new, it's furnished well, and it has accessibility, amenities, good proximity to different areas, it's doing amazing. But for a lot of people that end up purchasing in areas that are probably not developed yet or areas that are further out and they decide to do short-term rentals, maybe it's not the best idea yet. You're going to end up with low occupancy rate, and it might be a better idea renting on long-term. For sure, yeah.
And what about the off-plan market right now? We're seeing a lot of different projects that are being announced. I think, there's over 2,000 right now that we know of that are coming, for the next few years. What's your advice when it comes to investing in off-plan?
I'll just get into a little bit of statistics just for us to have an understanding. With the plan that Dubai has with 2040, the urban planning, if you're familiar with that, technically, the population is supposed to be reaching 5.8 million within Dubai. For that, Dubai needs around 27,000 homes annually. At the moment, the amount of handovers on properties that are happening annually is around 10,000. So I don't see the supply coming in, we could actually be facing a shortage of supply at some point of time. But off-plan properties have always been hot as long as you know what you're choosing. There are a lot of ultra luxury developments that are coming in, that obviously have crazy prices, but then there are a lot of opportunities as well, and that's where we kind of maximize. Our clientele, in fact, are 80% into investment, and that's what we specialize in. and off-plan segment is the one that we try to maximize in the most.
Yeah, there's a lot of new projects that are fun to dream about. You know, you see these posters and all these listings on the side with all sorts of crazy, beautiful pools and different amenities and everything. They look gorgeous. But what about the average investor? Where is the average investor investing at right now? And I guess maybe let's take that from the standpoint of if I was somebody who was maybe owned one or two properties but was looking to kind of continue to diversify. I come to you. Where do you point me in the right direction?
For us, it really depends, because when it comes to investment, everybody has a different sort of requirement, and you really need to kind of understand where your criteria lies in. For example, you have buyers that want to buy a property as pure investment, and they have zero emotions attached to it. And then on the other hand, you have buyers who are a little bit laid back, and they kind of want to have a safety net as well. So they're looking for a property which they would invest in, but in worst case scenario, they could use that property themselves. So again, there are so many different factors to play with. But generally, there are two segments of investment. One, which is kind of a flip investment, where we go into properties that are limited in supply. They have some sort of a payment plan. We end up buying these properties. At some point of time, the property has a profit. It is on a premium. We sell those properties. We have a better return on investment on our capital. We take those return on investments, we inject them into properties that are probably smaller, in a good location, where we end up furnishing these properties, keeping them on short-term rentals, and having a return on investment. So it's kind of playing on both sides.
Yeah. So right now it's all about really understanding the client needs and going from there. And it sounds like working with your firm really gives me that knowledge and that understanding, because it's got to be a little bit, daunting, right? When I'm thinking about investing for the first time. So, and the education you're going to bring is going to be strong.
Yeah.
As when we think about these communities right now, what are the most underrated communities that you would be looking at from an investment standpoint?
There are several different communities. I don't know if I want to bring up any names, but for example, Dubai Creek Harbor is an area that is definitely promising. It's going to have a very good future. It is one of those areas where Emaar decided to kind of merge a downtown lifestyle with a Dubai Marina lifestyle together, and bring in a lot of more facilities that probably aren't there in most areas. At the moment, whilst many other communities have been a little bit inflated in price, or maybe the prices have gone up to a level where it could not be affordable for some, Dubai Creek Harbor offers different price points for many investors, and I think it's a good place to start.
Yeah. Maybe rather than put you on the spot for communities, I should ask the question, what are the amenities I should be looking at as an investor?
Again, it's a challenging question because there's just so many developers that are coming in with areas, and there are so many amenities that you can't really add more. Sometimes we sit with developer heads. They're thinking about new master plans, and they want us to tell them what sort of new amenities or what sort of new ideas can be brought into the community. And it's a challenge because there really is everything everywhere. Like in every single community right now, you have parks, you have mall, you have restaurants, coffee shops, retail, you have golf course, or if you don't, you have one around somewhere nearby to the community. So it's very challenging. But for most people, if they are families, they'd like to have the park, they'd like to have accessibility to shops, so they don't have to go further out, and that is something that's common for end users.
Yeah, and you mentioned, maybe perhaps you make a wrong investment, if you will, right? Maybe you bought at the wrong time, the wrong rates. How do I recover from that if I'm an investor and maybe I have that one property that just isn't performing the way I want it? How do I keep moving forward? What's the mindset?
So this could be really difficult, but the first thing you need to do is really pull the emotions out of it. You need to understand that, not all investments are right. For a lot of people, they end up investing, let's say, into the crypto market. They lose out 100% of the value, and then they still go and buy into another project. Relatively, let's say you've purchased a property and you're down 20% on the value. In most cases, people wait so that they try to recover this amount, which isn't always the case. And it doesn't happen in most circumstances because there is a reason that that property is lower in value. My suggestion is you should sell the property, take the loss, and then look into other options where you could maximize and get that loss that you've had back on your return on investments. And there are so many places to look at. There are so many areas where you can buy properties, let's say in the off-plan market, that are cheaper than the ready market. And on a payment plan, you could take these funds. Let's say you have 800,000 dirhams. You've lost 200,000 dirhams. You would take these 800,000 dirhams and invest it into a property that could be ready in the next 2 to 3 years. And as Dubai's market is cyclical, there's always a time where you're going to end up with the property value being higher if you choose right. And that's where you can make this 200,000 dirhams back, keep that property, and then later on you can rent it out and get a better return on investment, and you know your value is also there.
Well, Arian, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate all your insights and information. And with that being said, it's another episode of Home Finders, a podcast by Property Finder to help you understand all the real estate needs that are out there. Thank you.